Confederacy of Dunks. Toronto Raptors. Scotty B. We the North, baby.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks basketball podcast on Raptors Republic. I am your host, Freddie Rivas, here with host and producer Andy Hall. Andy, what's up?
What's up?
Whoa.
Spooky season has arrived. It's September. It's late in September, so get ready for the pumpkins.
I thank you so much for that. I wasn't expecting that. The very plastic pumpkin was off.
That wasn't
camera,
planned on.
so-
What do you mean?
Is it? Oh, it's
It's
real.
organically grown.
Oh, okay. That's your backyard pumpkin. My bad.
That's a backyard pumpkin right there.
We're-
I made the face and everything. I
Looks
mean, like
great.
I made him make the face. Like, anyways, let's move.
Yeah,
Let's
you
keep
scared the shit out of your organic pumpkin. Petrified
Harry?
it.
My son Harry, who at the time was 4 years old, specifically chose this as the thing he wanted in his room last year during
It's a little
Halloween.
bit scary.
For those of you who are not watching, it is a skull face on a pumpkin. It's really scary. It's a lot.
It's pretty like even
a lot
for
for a little kid.
even for pumpkin faces, it's sort of on the intense side.
Agreed. It is.
Cool kid.
Yes, very.
Cool kid. He likes
Good.
spooky stuff, right?
I love it.
I love spooky stuff. Big Halloween guy.
That voice you're hearing is Imman Adan, Dishes and Dimes. Lots of different basketball things. I don't know if we've touched base in a while, so I'm not sure what you're working on these days, but you're amazing. She's a must follow for all things Raptors and also just in general. Imman, what's up? How you doing? How you training?
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. It has been a long time. Lots of things that will be announced, and Dishes and Dimes is coming back, so that'll be fun as well. Amazing.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's good news for people who like good podcasts.
Hey.
I feel like I was I was halfway to saying a Modest Mouse album. Good news for people who like bad news. Anyways, whoa, deep cut. Let's jump into some Raptors talk. Vince Carter.
We're killing it off the top here.
Yeah, we're killing it. Pumpkin riffing, Modest Mouse. People are like, what the fuck?
It's really working.
Yeah, Vince Carter. There was so much debate for such a long time about who should be retired first and should it be Lowry or whatever. And I think just the timeline just dictated that obviously was not going to happen. So most people have rightfully moved on. Lowry's still playing, so it would just and I think the idea of Vince retiring with New Jersey first was weird, probably for him as well, considering he's going to the Hall of Fame as a Raptor. But here's my question. They've announced Vince Carter jersey retirement. It's going to be the first jersey retired by the Raptors. Really, really exciting. It's really fun legacy stuff. And we can get into all things Vince. But Imman, I want you to start with how does this night go? What's a perfect version of this night for you? I don't know. Jersey retirements can go a lot of different ways, and I think, I'll just leave it open ended. How's this night gonna go?
Yeah, I think it'll be exciting. Here's the thing, and I've hammered this in, the Raptors really need to lean in on nostalgia, because if you can't sell me wins, you have to sell me nostalgia. You have to make me care about this team in some way, and we'll get into how good I think the Raptors are going to be this year. But I do think they're going to have to really just double down on the nostalgia. It makes sense that they're retiring Vince Carter now, because they need to. I think it's going to be pretty big, and I think they just need to take us back, and not any of the sad things. I think we will have enough of that this season. I don't need to have any of the rehashing of what went wrong between Toronto and Vince. I think that'll just be a little depressing. And there were so many high moments. I don't think people recognize just how electric he was and how good he was. There was talks about him being the best player in basketball when he was on this team. And so I think bringing in those old guys, like bringing in your Mo Peets and your Alvin Williams and your JYDs and your Antonio Davises and Del Currys and Tracy, like that whole, like the 01 team for the longest time was the best Raptors team that we had seen until you started to make those deep playoff runs. I want to get all of them back. I want him and Sam Mitchell to get into a fight for old time's sake on the court. Like I want it to just be like let's get Butch Carter back. Let's just like double down on like old school. I think people are gonna really try the T-Mac thing, you know, Vince and T-Mac cousins, but like T-Mac didn't matter to the good Raptor teams. Vince Carter and the other guys did, and so I think we need to like forget about T-Mac, like let him have his time with Orlando and Houston, and just like celebrate the Vince and those 01 teams, the 02 teams, like bring back Chris Childs. Let's get the gang rolling again. That's what I want to see.
I love this so much. I think I wasn't expecting a Butch Carter reference.
Why not?
But why not? And I think let's get
the parking spot involved. Remember the parking spot?
Oh, I remember the parking spot.
Let's get the parking spot involved. Let's just go. You know what? We should honorarily give it to his mom. Let's retire the parking spot along with Vince Carter's jersey. Let's go all in.
He should show up in his grad.
Oh my god!
His grad, like receiving a diploma, being like, "Sorry, I'm just running a bit late. I had to get my diploma." But
check me out.
I've said this before on the pod. Probably not in a long time, but I think like a lot of people, but I am a Vince Carter era fan, and you know, you nailed it. Like there was real conversation about him being the best player on the planet while he was a Raptor. I don't think he ever made it there. I don't know if I'm not sure that he ever finished with any MVP votes, but he was that guy. Like as a 14-year-old, had real, not fully delusional beliefs that we perhaps had Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Like and obviously like Kobe was like way more like the next Michael.
No, it was Vince. Like it was Vince being like, who is next up? It's Vince Carter. I think what people would say, like this is like a lot of the talk was, in terms of talent, it's Vince Carter, but in terms of mentality, it's Kobe Bryant. If you can combine the two, and it's like, okay, you're just saying Kobe is like kind of like psychotic about basketball, but like when we're talking about like raw talent, it was Vince, I think, is next up for a long time. Kobe survived, but it was Vince.
And turns out you can't combine two people. That's such a common basketball thing. It's like, hey, if you could just put, Sean Kemp and Wembanyama together, I'm like, that would be a crazy player. It's like that would be, but like we don't do that. We can't.
If you can combine me and LeBron James, I'm the best basketball player in the world.
Yeah, straight up. But you nailed a lot. I think the nostalgia part is huge for me. I also feel like when Kawhi came back, the Raptors showed us like what they can do as far as like visuals, like the way that it was like the court was black, it was used as a projector, and they had the steps to the shot. Like there's no shortage of like major moments with Vince, but I think there's gonna have to be some like let's just like put this out, like as an obvious thing. There will be a really cool video montage. That to me is like 2% of what I need from this. The video montage is going to be great. I expect it to be amazing, but I think there needs
video montage is why we're here in the first place, right? Like this this doesn't happen without that montage when he's back with the Grizzlies. So it's got it's going to be a good one. Is all I'm saying. Yeah.
It's going to be an amazing one. I think. Well, okay, fine. Since we're talking montage, why not just every dunk as a Raptor? Just like a 45-minute
super cut.
That would be crazy.
Super cut, and people just being like, "Is this game starting?" Or like, "Holy shit!" Like, even just like the softer dunks, like what I mean, like just every single dunk as a Raptor.
That'd be crazy.
To this day, one of my favorite like late party activities. Like you're there, you're at a party. Some people have left, everyone's like past the point where like they should have gone home, but there's a couple people still hanging around. Favorite thing to do is to just put on the video that's like Vince Carter's best all-time dunks. It's on YouTube. There's like 100 dunks or something, and you just watch them, and you're like, and they're like 95 of them are from in a game. You know what I mean? Like every one of them is from in a game except for like 5 or 6, and it's incredible. It's the best.
Yeah, I've watched that video.
Yeah,
many times.
We all have.
Yeah. What are Andy? What are some ingredients here? Like, what's a perfect sort of like? Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there when Matt Sundin was retired, so like I don't know what a retirement in. Wait, let me just ask this: has there been a retired jersey in Scotiabank? Like, was the last retired player Matt Sundin in like Maple Leaf Gardens?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think it is. Yeah, Matt's got retired there. The Leafs for a really long time, I know, because I took a tour of Maple Leaf Gardens in like grade 6 for like my friend's birthday, and they were like they actually didn't retire jerseys properly unless a player was unless a player died, or if a player was injured while they were part of a team and it was like a career-ending injury. So for the longest time, the Leafs only had 2 officially retired.
So they only did tragic, like that's weird. That is weird.
Yeah, and then eventually, when the other owners took over, they were like, "This is dumb. Let's just retire." Because they would honor jerseys, so they could honor the same number and stuff like that. The players could still wear the numbers. So, anyways, whatever. Listen. So the thing is, the point is here is that Toronto, we don't have a ton of retired jerseys, or at least we didn't for a very long time. So. It's I don't know about and like we did have a ceremony of all those players, you know, your Johnny Bowers and your Turk Brodas and all these like super old Leaf players, like, but that was all once. Like it's not really the same. You still don't really get that feeling of like we've seen all these awesome retirement ceremonies or like jersey retirement ceremonies. So to me, like, they're pretty rare still. So I'm very excited about this one. I really am. Like especially it's our first Raptors one. I don't know. There's something more special about that to me, weirdly enough. Like, the Raptors are the team. I was there from the beginning. We all were, basically, right? I mean, Imman, you were born?
I was there from the beginning.
Yeah, you were there. You were there.
Spirit.
Yeah, exactly. No, but we all, like, from a very young age have been following this team. We've been there for a very long time. We've been there from basically the inception or wherever it was possible. So that's crazy special. But I am here to represent the contingency of Raptors fans who are a little bit like, I feel weird about this.
The haters.
Right? Yeah, because I was a Vince hater. What'd you say?
Are you going to buy a ticket to boo?
I will say, I did that.
Why would they come to our concert just to boo us?
I will say, as like, I remember very vividly, like, being 13, 14, middle school, and being like, we gotta go to a Nets game. And she's like, so you could boo Vince Carter? Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Turns out booing's really fun.
It's fun. It is fun to have that focus. But like, to be clear, I don't hate Vince Carter now. I don't. I was with everyone that night with the video montage, and I was like, yes, you know what? It was awesome having Vince Carter. It was so sick. Like, he did put the Raptors on the map. He made our franchise, like, he made people have respect for the franchise, right? Like, you can't put it any other way. He just did. But that being said, like, I was listening to Hello and Welcome, and Alex, he basically said the same thing. He's like, exactly how I was feeling. Like, Vince did want to get traded. He did want to leave. He did quit on the team. He even admitted so, like, right after this happened. And then years later, he says that oh no, I know, I never really wanted to get traded and all this. And it's like, that's not true. It's on camera. It's on record. You saying that you did. So yeah, I've come to the conclusion though, that I think both things can be true, right? I can be like, I cannot like that part. I cannot like that stuff that Vince did. I really hate when players quit on teams like that. Like, you know, if you're going to go out, at least go out playing hard. It behooves you to do so. but especially when you throw a whole fan base away, which is so dumb. And he's so lucky that person put that montage together, whoever it was, at Scotiabank Arena, because without that montage, this fan base takes either doesn't or takes way longer to like welcome him back. And I don't know, do we have this night happening if that doesn't happen? I'm not sure about that. So, but it did happen, and it's a good thing that it happened, and it's okay because, yeah, like I said, it's so sick that we had Vince, and it's so awesome that we had the best dunker maybe ever, on the team and all that. So, yeah, as far as the night goes, though, I don't know. Put him in a dunk tank. I don't know, man.
Put him in a dunk tank.
Put him in a dunk tank. Have Raptors fans throw the. Come up and throw the ball. You win a lot.
Yeah, no, that's
overrated.
Yeah,
that's
right.
A good idea. Let's
the Vince Carter dunk tank.
Hey, Vince,
I like it.
We're gonna retire your jersey. Just go ahead and put your head in the stocks, and we're gonna throw a bunch of tomatoes at you, medieval style. And guess what? It's thousands of people, so those tomatoes are gonna hurt.
So you're gonna be here
a
few hours.
It's gonna be a long night.
Yeah.
I like it.
Even just handing out the tomatoes.
Yeah, no, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see all these. I'm with you, Imman. I think bring all these old guys back, bring the team back. They will. They did it for Bautista's jersey retirement, which I was randomly there for at the Rogers Center this past season, or I think it was this past season. And that was pretty cool. That was pretty fun. They did a pretty good job of that. So now that Rogers owns the Raptors, basically, I expect the same level of professionalism and entertainment value out of my dollar spent.
I also like, it was kind of like, I was also thinking of like some more creative things that they could be doing. And I'm like, okay, Allen Iverson. Like, I think if you're going to like really go back to like the heydays of like the Raptors, you have AI Vince Carter dueling for 50 points. Let's bring him in. Let's like,
that would be awesome.
That would be sick. That would be awesome.
Be cool.
Yeah.
That's like a really cool way to like lean into like what the high points of the Raptors were before. And also, if we want to be petty, I mean, the Vince Carter shot, poetically similar to the Kawhi Leonard shot. Like everything about it, how they're falling back, like everything besides the fact that one of them went in and the other one didn't. And, Game 7 against the Philadelphia 76ers, I say you have a really cool graphics guy who created that cool graphics that we were talking about to show us that shot and the bounce and the bounce and the bounce and it goes in, and just like have Vince Carter take it and be like, the story continues, ... And then you have Kawhi Leonard finish that shot. And you have the best montage ever because it kind of takes a shot at Vince Carter and it lets everybody know that don't worry that you lost it on his shot because 18 years later, your savior came and he finalized the story that was meant to be written.
I mean, if you want to be like super petty, maybe even invite Frederick Weiss, who's the French guy that Vince dunked on. Although I feel bad even saying that because there's like a really amazing documentary about that guy had some dark times.
Yeah.
Because of that dunk?
Yeah.
Because of that dunk, but then also like other stuff. And it's really sad. And anyways, I feel that I am continuing a long tradition of throwing this man under the bus. Many years after.
Let's not do that then. Let's bring in AI. Because Iverson's had a great tear lately of like going on podcasts and like talking about his opponents and how good they were and how healthy his competitive relationship was with a bunch of guys. AI. So yeah,
I love it. I love it. I'm down for that because I feel like they're gonna throw T-Mac in our faces, and it's like nobody cares. He left in '99. I
know. He was big. He the T-Mac moment for the Raptors is the dunk off. Because
when he helped Vince.
I know, but he was doing insane dunks.
Yeah,
and so was Ron Francis, but
losing to Vince Carter in the slam dunk contest is what T-Mac is known for.
No one remembers that he was even like in the competition. Like all I remember is him doing the bounce and holding the ball and stuff.
But
That's all I
did
remember.
like all these crazy.
I know.
He did really cool dunks, but like in normal years, maybe could have won.
Yeah,
but like. Sorry, Vince Carter was in that one, and that's what it's remembered for. I hate people trying to really throw T-Mac in our faces, and I'm like, listen, I've been a Raptor fan for as long as I can remember. I don't remember T-Mac as a Raptor.
I'm with you. I'm the same way.
He does not exist to me.
Well,
I'm the exact same way because we were mad at Vince for wanting to leave.
Yeah.
And the way he left, but no one's mad at Tracy McGrady for the way he did the same thing. He didn't want to play for the team. He wanted out. Like, forget him.
Because he did not want to play alongside his cousin, who was the number one option and better than him. And he's like, you know what? I don't want to be Scottie Pippen. And he left. And guess what? You never got past the first round, buddy.
So brutal.
Wow, I'm loving the T-Mac. It's like, you know what? I think Imman's favorite version of this like retirement is like we're retiring like both jerseys, like T-Mac and Vince at the same time, and then like Vince's keep going.
Yeah, Vince's gets like
keep
a
going,
little bit higher,
and then like T-Mac's like explodes and like fireworks.
It was all a joke. Oh my god! It was all a huge prank on Tracy McGrady.
You really only have to pull it up one time because again, only got past the first round.
Oh, that's good.
Never got past the first round. So just like, that's
good.
what you get. Yeah, no, and I've been a big Vince hater. I will say the Vince tour where he was like didn't want to get traded, that's what kind of started to turn me around. I was listening to Tim and Sid, and Tim and Sid were talking to Vince, and Vince was like, you know what, the day before I got traded, I asked not to be traded. And I was like, yeah, right.
But that was too late.
Well, it was they had a verbal agreement is I think what happened. And I'm like, what's a verbal agreement? You know what? Raptors have lost trades on verbal agreements. We were supposed to get Tyson Chandler once, but Michael Jordan said no to the verbal agreement. And Sam Mitchell came the next day and was like, yeah, no, Vince came to me and said that. And then I, went up to management. Don't want to talk ill of the dead. So Sam Mitchell said he went up to management and said, Vince says he doesn't want to be traded. And Tim and Sid were like, what? So he actually said that to you and you took that up to management? And management was like, verbal agreement. And I'm like, that's a stupid thing ever. So that's what listening to Tim and Sid maybe turned like, I don't know, how long ago was this? A decade ago, where I was like, okay, Vince, I'm sorry for the 10 years of hating you.
Yeah, but I agree with Freddie. Like, you can't be like,
trade
me, get me out of here. Day before it's about to happen, be like, I don't want to be traded.
Actually, can I stay?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, we've been a week trying to trade you somewhere, like, mind you, it was a terrible trade. It was one of the worst trades of all time. Yeah, it's a terrible trade. Should have just pulled the plug on it. Forget the verbal agreement.
I feel like I don't have a true backbone because I don't have a Vince turning moment. Like, he broke my heart, but I never really booed him, and like I was never able to stop like loving Vince. Like,
you missed out, but
I just can't stop loving you.
But there's other rappers who've done way less, and I'm like, death to Hito. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Hito is actually my number one villain is Hito Turkoglu.
Yes, he is big time.
I went to a Raptors game. I was probably like 8 or 9. And it was before Vince was traded. This was one of the last games before he was traded. It was against the San Antonio Spurs. And Vince was dog doo-doo. Garbage. Like the worst. Like, he very clearly quit on the team. Very clearly wanted out. Him ever saying that he didn't is a lie. And I think he benched him for the entire fourth. And like Chris Bosh played. And it was like rookie Chris Bosh. And Chris Bosh dominated. And they ended up winning the game because Vince was benched. But I remember when he was in the game, everyone was booing him, like in the Air Canada Center, all around me. When Vince was in the game, still on the team, he was getting booed because it was very clear that he quit on the team. And I was like, why is everybody so mean to him? I was like really heartbroken for him because I was looking around and everyone was booing him. And then like a couple of months later, I was like, I need to go back to a Raptor game. I have somebody to boo now. Like, I want to join that audience. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, just so many emotions come up with Vince. Like, I feel like since we're hashing this out, like,
were there other topics?
I know.
Yeah, no, right? There's no other topic right now.
There's no. This is what everyone's thinking about. But I like Vince. He, like, also thinking back to that time period, and this is like going forward, like some of the fear I have with a Scotty and like with a big kind of like sort of like charming emotion type guy is like, it's happened to, I think Leafs fans are very familiar with this, but like the Toronto media has a way of like eating its like star players and just basically like berating them in a way that some cities do for sure. I think New York has a history of like turning on its guys as well, in some ways. But like the way that we jumped all over Vince, there was a one season where he was injured a bunch, and then like everyone started calling him Wince Carter. And I remember being like, first of all, very funny. Like whoever was like, Vince, what about Wince? Like that person like waltzed into the sunset. Like that, like whoever made up that name was like, I'm done for life. And, like, was like
they're immortalized in anonymity forever.
Yeah, they just mummified him like chop. But like
instantly turned to dust.
But yeah, they like. There was a lot. I remember particularly there's this one moment where he was in like on crutches, like in old, like remodeled Union Station. And like, just like reporters were like all around him. And like, you could just see that he was like, fuck you guys. Like your franchise sucks. I am like an absolute superstar. And you guys are like, cause it was also, that was still more.
So just to be clear here, you're saying it's the media's fault.
Damn right. But no, at that time it was way more like,
I think the Raptors don't have to deal with it the same way the Leafs do.
Player you would have played. Like there was
sure, yes. I'm sure a lot of people
there was
were
that energy, and he's like, I'm richer than everyone on the
exactly.
Leafs team. And
you remember when Serge Ibaka was asked a question at a press conference, and then he saw how much the reporter made and was like, "Oh, you can have to." Like he was like so sad for the reporters. Like, you guys make this little? Okay, ask me what you want. Like you're just like richer than anybody. So you know what?
What do you do? Like Google the guy's salary? Like how do you find that out?
I think he like asked him or something. And he was just like, "Oh, okay." Like
what a flex! It's like, yo, you make 60,000 a year, which honestly, that'd be
the
great.
whole year.
Yeah. Okay, let's actually move on. Question the second. This is okay. Let's talk about this team a little bit. You know, we are starting to get in there. I feel like the summer is fading, and the Bruce Brown injury I think is a good way to kind of like start thinking about this roster realistically, because like let's put him to the side for a sec, because like I think a lot of people are frustrated about that connection to the Siakam trade, and him sort of being this like a guy that seems like one of many players that have kind of like is transiting through Toronto and not a big part of the overall picture. But he's going to be injured in training camp, and or he's having the surgery, and like I think isn't going to be a big part of the team, and sort of will be like integrated at some point. So I feel like it's fair to say that we shouldn't expect him to be a part of the nucleus for the first while. Imman, let's start with you. What's a 9-man rotation of like that you see with this team? And I think we'll probably mostly agree on top 4 or 5, 6, but then I'm curious where
it goes out.
Who gets a look?
Yeah, so I would say like your top 4 for sure are Emmanuel Quickley, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, and Jakob Poeltl.
Yes.
And then I think your 5th starter has to be Grady Dick. I have him as my 5th starter, and then I think Kelly Olynyk and Davion Mitchell have to be in your rotation. It's just 2 guys. So that takes us to 7. No, 8. Oh, I'm at 7. So the 2 more is interesting because I would have had Bruce Brown slot in, but with him gone, you have to have Ochai. I forgot about him. Ochai Agbaji. You got him last year. And then I would put in Jacoby Walter as the 9th man who kind of slots in because you don't have your Bruce Brown anymore. So you have like a guard, I guess, is like a wing. So I would do that. That would be my 9-man rotation. And then like, depending, let's say Agbaji doesn't really hit the mark, then you can start to look at Mobo and you can start to look at like other guys. But I think that like these are guys that probably have more years and just a proven track record, and the Raptors do want to go out there and win. And so I don't think they're just going to put out all of the kids at once. I think there's going to be a lot of 905, and I think your main 9 guys have to be the people who have at least some NBA run under their belt.
Yeah. I think there is, like, I'm just looking at, like, obviously I think 2 of the rookies are 2 ways. But yeah, there's like coming into camp, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rookies.
There's a lot
and
of rookies. Yeah.
Grady is a first year player. Abaji's second year.
Which has only 2. Yeah, exactly.
And then, Jared Roden, who I don't even know well, only has 2 years experience. So yeah, the team is like wildly young, besides old man Temple and Kelly,
and the ancient one, Kelly.
yeah, exactly. They're both extremely old, and then no one else.
It's so funny going through like the list. Is just like born in 2004, born in 2003. Then Garrett Temple comes up, born in 1986, and you're like, that jumped. What he talks to them about.
Yeah, Garrett Temple is one of, honestly, I think 5 players in the NBA older than me. Because I'm 1986, June 7th. So
that's funny.
He must be. There's really it's basically like him, Lowry, Chris Paul, LeBron, and I don't even know. That might be it. But yeah, I'm mostly with you, except I feel like something has to give with Chris Boucher. I need Darko to speak on this, or because I don't think that I don't think that, like, there's a couple rookies that I just don't think will bring more to the table than Chris, especially if you are trying to win and it's like a hustle thing. And it's like, this guy is like, we've seen Chris be competitive in many scenarios. We know he's not a starter, but like just as like an energy, 3, 4, 5, a guy, like someone who can do like a bunch of stuff on a basketball court. It's like, I get it. He's going to jump on top of someone when they're shooting a 3. And it's going to be a 4-point play, and we're going to be mad. But like, Chris can ball. Chris is awesome. And I think that if it's like, Walter, Mitchell, Olynyk, Abaji, and, like, let's say like Mobo or whatever, or Sheed, like it's like, he can't be behind all these guys. So for me, the other thing I'm kind of wondering is, how much is the Grady Dick starting thing like, we know where he's going, we need shooting, versus like is he actually better than Abaji right now? Yeah. From a full like I think like skill set wise, it's like, of course, yes, we need that with Scotty. We need shooting, whatever. But just even like from a like on court makeup, like I get it. I've seen the pictures. I know he hit the gym, but are we sure that his like end of season minutes is going to be real, or is it kind of like, here's my scared feeling if the Raptors are going to be like a competitive team? I kind of have a feeling that if you start Grady Dick, you're one of the worst teams in the NBA. And I know that's such a burn. I really think that Grady Dick's going to be a good player, but I just have that feeling, and I hate that I have that feeling, but it's like, I can't deny it.
Define one of the worst. Do you mean bottom 10? Do you mean bottom 3? Like, what do you mean
I think we're way too good for bottom 5. But I agree. Think that, I have the Raptors right now at about like 27 wins. And yeah, I think Grady could be like a good bench guy. Like on like, I think he's like, could maybe be like, if you like, let's put it this way: if you threw Grady onto, we don't have to do like a championship team. If you threw Grady onto the Bucks, like, does he crack the rotation? Is he like, he's obviously not a starter? Am I being too harsh?
I think you are a bit.
Maybe
I think you are a bit. Like
bit.
this is obviously we're in a very different situation. This is a younger team. But as far as young teams go, seeing a guy like Grady, like seeing the progress he made last year, and everything we've sort of been hearing about how he's coming along and stuff. Obviously, proof's going to be in the pudding. We're going to see how he plays and all that. But like, there's reason to believe this guy can he's going to improve upon last year, and that's kind of all anyone's really asking for, right? That's all we're really looking forward to. So, assuming he's going to improve upon last year, yeah, whether or not he's a starter, that's up in the air. I'd say you can have a pretty good argument about that, but I don't know if him being the starter means that we're one of the worst teams. I think it just means that this guy who was chosen, like 7th overall, did we pick him again? What was it? 7th?
He was like 14th. Like
oh jeez, I thought he. Oh yeah, sorry.
He's fully where he's supposed to be as like a guy that was drafted 14th, and like
exactly,
he
right?
can shoot. Like it's all.
But everyone
good,
knew that. That we picked him. We knew that that's what he was going to be. Good shooter. So like that kind of player though cracks rosters like that, right? Like that's exactly the kind of player who finds his way into a spot like that. So I think it's a little bit harsh to say that means that's indicative of being one of the worst teams. I don't think it makes us one of the best teams or anything, but we're growing team here. We got 6 rookies. We're getting there.
Imman, too harsh?
I do think it's too harsh. I think for one, here's the thing: if the Raptors really wanted to have a solid starting 2, I mean, like there are a lot of questions about a Gary Trent Jr., but I think he is a starting level 2 guard on this team. I think it would have made sense, but they decided to go a different direction. I do think. Here's the thing about Grady Dick. Besides the growth that he had in the second half of the season, that I don't know that we're going to get maybe the highs that we got in the second half of the season, but I don't think we're going to get the lows that we got in the first half of the season. That player, yes, I think if he starts on your team, you are one of the worst teams in basketball. You might be in the bottom 3. You might crack the bottom 5 because I think he was that bad at the start of the season. But a large part of that was his conditioning. I think with his size, I think he's shown that like he's got great size. He's got great length. He is a good floor spacer. I look at a guy like Ochai who like they're on paper, you see a guy who could be really good, but he's not been able to put it together. And now he's only been in the league for an additional year outside of Grady. So there's still a lot of time for him to put it together, but I definitely trust Grady Dick. I trust what he's going to become because of the 3-point shot, but I also trust what he's shown thus far compared to someone like Agbaji, who Agbaji just has not.
He hasn't really shown anything.
He hasn't done it, and he's had a little bit more room, a little bit more leeway. It's not like he was on a good team. He was at the back of the bench there as well, when he should have gotten some more run. And you know what? If Danny Ainge gives up on a young player like that, it kind of makes me a little bit weary on what that player is going to become. So I have less faith on Agbaji than I do on Grady Dick. But maybe that's just me wanting to be optimistic because you know what? Like, yeah, the season's coming up, but it's still September. And so I'm choosing to believe that this is like a team that's going to be perfect.
Listen,
zero adversity.
None.
No injuries.
All year.
I think I'm overcompensating, to be honest, because I feel like the last 2 years I thought the team was going to be better than they were.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of like settling into like I don't. And I mean, I also like I want to be proven wrong, but I don't have a lot of good there's not a lot of easy examples in my head about like very young teams being good.
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen. Unless you have Shea. Unless you like have a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yes. Yeah. If you have Shea, then I think that's pretty great. And yeah, if you have a guy who's like MVP level, then that is very, very helpful. But even everyone's like going wild for their summer pickups. And it's like, what did they do? They got a bunch of like old winners. They're like, let's get Hartenstein and Caruso. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what that team needs. It's like true. some like older guys who are not older guys, but just like, veterans who are sort of like, okay, I understand like that, I'm good. I die for this.
They had a good summer. I forgot about that. They had a great summer.
They had a great summer. Yeah. Like you need people who are like, I am determined to box this guy
Caruso
out.
And Hartenstein. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice.
My favorite white boys in the league.
Yeah. They're I know.
Hartenstein, like he's biracial. Let me give him Let me say that.
Yeah. Shout out to my biracial friends. You know what? That didn't come off smooth, but I meant it.
Just a clunky shout out. We love it here.
Yeah, nice clunky.
We love a clunky shout
out. Shout out to getting a perfect Yahtzee game. Okay, that was just a bomb joke.
Shout out to the guy in the original Godzilla suit.
Sure. Okay, those are okay. Thank you, Andy. We got a couple clunky shout outs.
Keeping it clunky.
Okay, you know what? I think we added 2 more topics lined up, but we got juicy on Vince. So I think I just want to do. I want to do this last topic because I feel like there's a lot of room here. I want to give us some.
Can I just say for the middle topic?
Yes.
Jayson Tatum, you get too much love. You weren't even the number 1 option on your team when they won a championship. What are we doing?
Okay, you know what?
What are we doing?
Just because you said that,
we can go to the last topic. I just need to get. I just need us to be real about the fact that Jaylen Brown was the Eastern Conference Finals MVP and was the NBA Finals MVP and was the number 1 option. And you know what? When he wasn't, they lost to the Warriors. Let me just say that.
Wow.
You know what?
Imman, you needed to let it out. You're shouting out Jaylen Brown.
Yeah. Shout out to Jaylen Brown.
That's your clunky shout out.
That wasn't clunky. I think that was pretty smooth, actually.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I feel like let's say a couple words on it because now we're teasing it, and now I'm like, you know, I gotta.
There's another list, everyone. There's another list that's come out.
It's a list. It's about
it's a
number
Yahoo
1
Sports
options.
list.
Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's the number 1 options. Ben Rohrbach, the senior writer over at Yahoo Sports, has put together of like each team's number 1 option, basically. And he's ranked every single team's number 1 option. And I mean, go check it out. Basically, who you think is 1 and 2. You got Jokic, and 3 rather. Jokic, Doncic, Giannis, and then number 4 is Jayson Tatum. Number 5 is SGA. And as we know from last week's list that we talked about, SGA was up at 4 and Tatum was at 5, and we were saying Tatum was too high at 5 on that list.
I agree.
This is only a list of top like number 1 option guys. So, Imman, you're saying this should be Jaylen Brown and probably lower?
No, I think Jayson Tatum should certainly be lower. I wouldn't have Jaylen Brown as one of the the Celtics are a really good team. Like, put Derek White on the list if we're just gonna go crazy with it. Like, I genuinely don't think that Jayson Tatum is the 4th best number 1 option in the NBA. I think that's been proven time and time again. He is on the best team. But I mean, Jaylen Brown and Derek White cannot get overlooked. And like Al Horford, for what it's worth, can't be overlooked. I think Jayson Tatum is overrated in basketball. And I think he's a really good basketball player. He just has not shown the consistency. I was going through his final stats. This man has scored under 20 more times than he scored like over 20, I think, in finals. Like, it's just not what your number 1 guy does.
This guy, he says he's sacrificed statistics on a stacked roster.
Okay, but
great, but also,
then you're not the number 1 option, right? Like, if you that's fine. I think he has a stacked roster. I think he should take a back seat and let other guys go through it. But when you see the ball go through other players, when you see that like Jayson Tatum, really great at drawing doubles, has improved a lot at finding the open guy and moving the ball. But that to me means that you're not playing as the number 1 option on your team. Also, if we look at the on-off numbers with Jayson Tatum versus Jaylen Brown, I think we're starting to see something there. But to me, it's just like, if you were going to be the number 1 option, if you were going to be the person that things run through, like they do with Giannis, like they do with Jokic, like they do with Luka, like they do with Shea, you need to be the number 1 guy. And like, yeah, you're on a stacked team, but like, that's why Steph and Kevin Durant didn't win MVPs when they were on each other's team, is because, well, you're no longer the number 1 guy. You are, 1A, 1B, or the number 2 guy.
Yeah. I think, but not putting Shea ahead of him is madness.
Ludicrous.
Very, very silly.
Ludicrous.
You know what? Actually, it's Canadian. It's anti-Canadian bias, okay? I think they just hate Canadians, and they're just too scared to admit it. Okay? We see it for what it is.
We see it for what it is. We see the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what it really was, though? I really do. Now that I'm thinking about it, they were like, we don't have an American in here. Like, let's just slot him right in
and put him number 4, put him as high as we possibly can without seeming like we have absolutely no credibility.
We can't put him ahead of Luka, so let's just drop him a little bit.
I can't believe I'm gonna make. I can't believe I'm gonna make this joke 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
but we weren't watching the Olympic finals and being like, you gotta sub out KD for Jayson Tatum. It's like, no, he was on the bench. He was on the bench when it counted because that was the right decision.
So he shouldn't represent America on the top 5 list. He couldn't even play for America.
Yeah, like I think, like, I totally agree with the Shea Tatum thing, but to me, this, like, the more interesting conversation is like the whole number one option thing is like, how heliocentric is the person? Like, does every single thing run through them?
Yeah.
Or are they, because like I think it's beautiful when really talented players defer.
Yeah.
But certain teams, it's like everything is their, they just have to touch the ball all the time, and like Embiid is someone who, even though he scored like 35, it's like there's just by nature of his position and the way that he's not like a distributor like Jokic it's everything doesn't run through him in a way that like he is the entire offense. Like he sort of like bludgeons you, and then kind of like that just opens everything up. And so I feel like the number one, and it's always something that gets like, I think the Raptors fans are going to hear that a lot this year, right? Like, is Scotty a number one? Is Scotty a number? And it's like, it's this type of conversation that I feel like is sort of, it just lacks any like hard definition, like what is a number one? Because I think, Jaylen Brown has gotten sort of like underrated in the Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown continuum.
Yeah.
As opposed to people being like, oh, they're both amazing. The Celtics are stacked. People, it's hard to have like a real conversation about like who does what on a team when you have to have this like basic model of someone being the very, very best and then someone being the second best,
I think that like Steph is the perfect example of that, because there's no point where anyone's going to say Steph is not a number one. Like, Steph is one of the greatest basketball players to ever exist, but a large part of what made the Warriors so successful is Steph off ball, right? It's the fact that everything does not have to run through Steph. You have a guy like Draymond who can run pick and roll with Stephen Curry, while Draymond is a ball handler and Stephen Curry is a screener. And you see this guy who looks kind of frail in NBA terms, but like is an excellent screen setter and moves so well without the ball, where you don't need, Steph can have an entire possession where he doesn't touch the ball once, but he's affected every single aspect of it, whether it's through just moving a ton and trying to get open, whether it's just his spacing, just scaring everybody. And so you guys just going at him. Like, Bucks and 1. Like, I mean, the Raptors won a championship off of Bucks and 1. Like, that's how you can have a guy who can be the number one option, but you don't have to like run everything by him. It's just the fear that he puts in other people. And I think a guy like Jayson Tatum really does like it. He exists within the context of his team, right? And like, you need to have the Jaylen Browns and the Derek Whites, and like that, it's such a stacked team that I don't think I can like think of him in the same way that I think of what the other number ones do for their respective teams. Granted, they're all in different like systems, but I just don't see it with Jayson Tatum in the same way that everybody else does. And I do think that he has improved. I think he's improved his finishing, but you still want him to get better at that. His shot taking, like some of the questions, like there's just a lot of question marks with him. And I think it lends to the fact that like he is the most inconsistent across the board when you look at the top 5 guys that are there. And you can't be a number one if you're as inconsistent as a guy like Jayson Tatum is, where some nights he looks like that number one guy where everything needs to go through him because he's on fire and he's unstoppable. And other nights he defers so much, and it's not like, oh, I got to take a back seat to let my teammates do it. It's just, you're having a bad night and Jaylen Brown is on. And like, that's just like the nature of their team. They just have a couple of stars there that can do that. But that means that he's not the number one guy. That means you can't just plop him into a system that's completely different than what the Celtics have and expect them to be in the finals. I just don't think that he can lead you there on another team that's not the Celtics. Whereas I think Luka, put him anywhere, Jokic, put him anywhere, Shea, put him anywhere. And I think they're leading you to a team that is that good. And I don't know that I believe that Jayson Tatum can do that in a system that's different than what the Celtics have.
Yeah, no,
I don't think that's what this guy is doing. I think you're right.
Yeah,
I just don't think that's what he's right. I think he's taking a look
fair.
at
Yeah.
And I hate Jayson Tatum. Fuck the Boston Celtics. Everyone knows this about me. But like, I think he's looking at teams and then going, who's the number one option?
Yeah.
He's saying it's Tatum. And then he's going, and then just at the end of his thing here is, I always love when they do this type of thing. He's like, Boston finished plus 755 with Tatum in the lineup, which is the best plus minus of anyone in the league. Credit his teammates for that proficiency, but that would be ignoring that the very real probability that Tatum is the most well-rounded basketball player alive. Yes, I will credit his teammates with that proficiency. You know what I mean? Like, I will credit a lot of his, like, obviously he has something to do with it. I don't want to take away all the credit away from him, but that is a very team-based statistic, right? Like, he doesn't get that playing on the Raptors. You know what I mean? So like, let's not even really use that. That's a team makeup thing. That's a team efficiency thing.
Yeah.
If we're gonna look at it over the whole season, and then he's the most well-rounded basketball player alive. What do we think about that? I mean, I think he's like definitely up there.
I disagree. I strongly disagree with that.
I think he's I think he's certainly he is certainly well-rounded. You have to be pretty well-rounded to, I think, make Team USA. Even if you sit on the bench the whole time, to be perfectly, like. Whatever.
I mean, Derek White got better, more playing down.
No, for sure he did, but that's because I think there's more like.
He's a role player.
He's not as he's not as this
like. But like being well-rounded means that I think you can do what a role player does it not?
You would think so. You would certainly think so, right? So yeah, both of those things I think are either like not really true, or they're like kind of the reasons why he shouldn't be this high on the list, right?
Yeah.
Even within the author's like sort of rubric he might be using, which doesn't seem like the one you were just talking about, but I think either way he's not this high. You know what I mean? No. So I don't know. We dedicate a lot of time to Tatum slander on this podcast the last 2 weeks, and I am all about it.
It's fair. And here, if we want to use plus minus, didn't he have a negative plus minus in the finals? Like, it's such a useless stat that like normally would not have brought up, because again, it is a team stat, like you were saying, but like, yeah, they were the best team in basketball, blowing everybody out. Of course he's going to have a high plus minus. What are we talking about here? But, like, if we want to focus in on that, when the finals came around and you needed your best player to be on it, negative plus minus.
Yeah, tough stuff. Sacrifice statistics.
You know what Jaylen Brown didn't have? A negative plus minus.
Yep.
I mean,
my Jaylen Brown propaganda. I don't know when I became
I
don't know when I became a Jaylen Brown propagandist, but we're here.
I mean, I gotta say, their best player. I'll say it again. Said it last week. Pritchard. He's a heater. Oh, I'm getting time's up from Andy. So I gotta. Well, okay. One last sort of point about this. I'm curious what you both think, but I feel like with this rubric, with this type of conversation, it's all about offense, which doesn't necessarily define, like, there's best player on the team, right? And then there's number one option. So if the best player on the team is, say, a defensive superstar, they might not be the number one option on offense. And I feel like that's sort of where this idea can fall apart, is one way this idea can fall apart. So like, you got Victor Wembanyama at 7. So, like, what have we seen from Victor that makes us think that, like, all of the offense is going to go through him? Like, I have seen like just like absolute like defensive dominance that looks like it's going to be like Olajuwon, like Abdul Jabbar, sort of like really special, insane stuff. I haven't really seen. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, he can hit the three, he can dribble, he can do a lot of stuff, but it's like I don't know that he's going to be like bringing the ball up, or even sort of like getting the ball like Jokic and like diming it out and like But again, like, Spurs are probably going to be really bad again. So it's like the quality of players he's going to play with. So maybe they're just going to start that and they're going to start force feeding him. But yeah, I think quality of player, how good they are, and like number one option. Like, yeah, maybe I'm being too harsh here with Wembanyama, but does anyone see him like having like 25 points a game sort of thing? Like, I don't really know how that's going to happen with him. Am I in Victor hating territory with that or what?
I don't think so.
He's perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't think that's Victor hating. I think just reading the little bit, like there's a little blurb kind of about like what is a number one and all this. And it's basically just like overall best player on the team. And like
okay.
Wembanyama's going to gets that.
Well, he is that 100%. Yeah.
He's that 100%. And like, I mean, you're baking in a ton of potential with him, and
like in this, 7. He's ahead of Joel Embiid. So like, is that fair?
Putting it ahead of Joel Embiid, I don't think so.
KD, he's ahead of KD. Like,
he's got Embiid at 9, KD at 10, LeBron's at 12. Like, I don't know, some of that feels low. But then again, it's one of those things where you look up and you go, well, I guess, I mean, are these guys above these other guys? Edwards is at 8, Steph's at 6. I personally probably drop Wemby down a few spots here, bump up your Joel Embiid and KD, because I think those guys are just kind of like, we're all tired of them being so good in a way, you know what I mean? But you can't deny a guy who scores 70 points sometimes, and you know what I mean? You can't deny a guy who goes to the Olympics and is by far the most respected and best player on the team. Like, I don't know. Those guys are magic, say lots of, things to be said against those guys, but not when it comes to who's the number one players. If we're ranking these types of guys, those guys have got to be pretty high in my opinion.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't know. Whatever. My list would be way better.
Sick.
That's all I got to say, man.
And we'll say the caveat we said last week, which is we actually love these lists because they're fun to talk about.
Yes, of course.
Okay, let's wrap it up with this last question here, and it's a fun thought experiment, I hope. But I want you each to give me a player whose image or look or brand or whatever is in need of rehabilitation. And I want you to tell me like what's the PR strategy? Like, how are you sort of like changing their current trajectory, and what are you changing it to? Imman, let's start with you.
So I didn't even consider like look. My first initial thought was, this is a player who's near and dear to my heart, who everybody hates. And I think I often like players who I think are unfairly maligned in the NBA. And so it is, and this maybe is not totally unfair in how people hate him, but I do think on the court, it's been a little unfair. And that is Mr. Rudy Gobert.
Okay, I like this.
So Rudy Gobert was a player that I wanted to rehabilitate his image. I think that like I think people really hate on the Minnesota trade. I think he's proven to like be really damn good there. Like he even talks about like number ones. I think people really underrate just how integral and how important he has been to that Minnesota team, to the point where like we can actually have conversations about how like rankings, but I'm not going to get into that because people are going to get mad. But my way to rehabilitate him is maybe get him to wear a mask, right? Like to show that he's taking COVID a little bit more serious than he has in the past. I think that's like
good.
One of like the biggest ways that like, he's fair criticism levied towards Rudy Gobert has been about the COVID stuff. So I have him wearing a mask and like telling people to get vaccinated. I mean, he is on a team with someone who unfortunately has lost a lot of people to COVID as well. So I didn't want to make it something that could be too jokey, because obviously, COVID has affected Karl Anthony Towns like in such a way where you want to make sure that he's showing that he's taking it seriously, but not doing it in like a tongue-in-cheek way. So I was trying to find a way to still be respectful, but like let people know that like, hey, it's serious. It killed a lot of people, and what he did was bad. And so I have Rudy Gobert wearing a mask.
That's very simple and good, and yeah, I think this is great, and I feel like he is someone. I feel the tide turning a little bit. Like it's almost. So. Well, I feel like sort of like basketball media was kind of like so low on him for so long, but now you're seeing guys like Shaq who are sort of like really trying to kick him when he's down.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's almost like souring people, and like in the way that it never happened for Dwight, where like Dwight or Shaq was going at him so hard for so long, and people just kind of like let it happen. Yeah. But I feel like now, like I think I'm bringing up Shaq because it's like his weird hate for big men is so odd. Like for him to be insecure, for him to be so good and so insecure in one, like I don't know, like one at the same time is odd.
So weird.
Andy, who's your rehab candidate?
The only guy, Dylan the villain. Let's do it.
Dylan's a great one.
Fix his reputation outside of Canada, because in Canada it's spotless. We love Dylan here.
It sure is.
No problems.
Yeah, he's good.
The offensive woes don't exist to us. You know what I mean? Like, he's a lockdown defender. He's fucking money from three. Like, we'll take Dylan's great. We got no complaints. Now talk to Memphis Grizzlies fans and talk to Houston Rockets fans. They might have some other things to say about that. So here's what we do. We put him in a boot camp clinic. We get his shot right. We get that percentage up a couple points. And listen, we get him on LeBron's podcast. There you go. That's going to change everything, because these guys are going to talk. Maybe they're going to fight. That's great too. People love to see a fight. But they're gonna hash it out, and whether or not they come out friends on the other side doesn't matter. We just need to hear Dylan talk, because people just hear snippets of him, but people listen to LeBron James long form. You know what I mean? We listen to him for hours and hours talking about whatever. So the fact that we would get to see those two guys actually chat, actually talk, it's going to be like, I don't know what it's going to be like, but it's going to be very entertaining. It's going to be very fun, I bet.
I love it.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think, and I think people are going to go, oh, I actually kind of like that guy. They already should like him, by the way, for doing what he does to LeBron, because no one else does. You know, like everyone just rolls over for LeBron. And look, maybe that's fine. Sure, big greatest of all time, possibly. Yes, respect, of course, obviously. But guess what? Respect is earned. And some people you have to earn it in a one-on-one situation. Nothing you've done outside of that matters to them, and they just care about this right here, right? So for Dylan, he's got to be one of those guys, otherwise he wouldn't be like this. So maybe this is where it happens on the podcast. So there you go.
I love it.
Dylan Brooks.
I love it. Yeah, we need to be entertained. Shout out Dylan Brooks.
Dylan, become a Raptor.
Here's my guy. I think, there's been enough toxicity with his teams for long enough. The deep Eastern Conference Finals run is like years old now. They've been struggling. They haven't gone into the tank. People hate Trae Young. And I think he's another guy that people shouldn't hate. Like, it's not long ago where he had like just an insane performance in Madison Square Garden and bowed to the crowd after he beat them, and all of Madison Square Garden chanted Trae Young's balding. Like, if you can get an arena of people chanting Trae Young's balding, like
just something
sports,
that's true about you.
Yeah, sports like doesn't get that much better than that.
No.
So this is someone who like needs like and on the court, nothing. Carry on doing what you do, foul bait, like just jack up shots, like all that kind of stuff. But I think like the image of like people don't want to play with them. He's going through coaches, that kind of stuff. Like that's what needs to change. And I don't think I can like make him likable or like figure out all of that. But if I'm on Trae's team, I'm like, here's what we're gonna do. we're gonna find like we're gonna pick a list of endangered animals in North America. You're gonna pick one, and buddy, you're dropping $5 million a year minimum to help these animals. Okay. They restored the blue whale population in just outside of California. Like, these things, like, you can make a big difference with not that much money. So you pick a bird, do something. You're gonna target an animal, you're gonna help them, you're gonna have some photo ops with them, you're gonna meet all the people who care about this specific animal, and you're gonna get like a ton of press, which is gonna like blitz people and be like, wow, Trae Young loves like this like parakeet or like whatever it is. There's you know what I mean? There's this like a rare horse or something like that. Like,
can it be like a naked animal? Just to like lean into the Trae Young is balding. Can it be like I don't know, like a naked mole rat? Like, can it be an animal that's hairless?
He's already balding.
Yes, yeah. To like.
It's the rare balding horse.
Yeah.
We need a rare stallion
of Southern Mongolia.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Exactly. We need a rare bald horse. You know what I'm saying? Like,
if he saves a rare bald horse, I don't know that there's a person who could hate Trae Young.
No, you know what I mean? Like, like Trae's out here saving like no mane horses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
these horses don't have manes, dude.
It's a species of horses. Wait.
Oh,
wait.
No.
Is it a mane? Is that what they have? Like the little like
mane,
like,
mane and tail.
Yeah, the mane and the tail.
Anyways, so that's so you know what I mean? Like, if I think like it would be a nice like mix of like weird too. People would be like, oh, do we care about that? Like, I guess he does. So like he's pouring money into it,
We must too.
I think it would go a long way. Okay.
Can I say that like a
Dylan
Dylan Brooks LeBron James podcast has to come out, because that would do numbers. That would like just break records. I feel like if LeBron James and people not on that, it'd be great.
Like like a podcast that turns into a fist fight. That alone is like huge.
If like the NBA is good at this, what they do is they find when the Rockets are going to play the Lakers, set it up for like leading up to that week, and then you have like the game and the podcast coming out. Like, oh god, that would be special.
They would have to pay them so much because they both don't want to be in the same room as each other. Like, they just hate each other so much.
The NBA has the money.
The NBA would have to fork over the money. Adam
they have it.
Yeah, I love Dylan Brooks. Like him shouldering LeBron, like in that Vegas like exhibition. I'm like, you're nuts, buddy. Like
I love him.
I love this so much.
I love it.
Okay, I think that takes us to the end of the pod. This was fun. We got silly. I'm glad we didn't drop that topic, because there was a solid 9 minutes of Tatum slander that.
Sorry, Jayson.
Good.
That the listeners need. They need more of it.
Yeah. You're not you're well rounded, but like you're a bit of an egg shape. You know what I mean? Like it's not like perfect.
It's all rounded if you don't do it well. I'm joking.
Bang. And Jaylen Brown, welcome on the pod anytime.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show. And if you could bring on Dylan and LeBron and get them to fight, that'd be sick. Imman, let's you talked about dishes and dimes, but I
will be mentioning some other stuff that I do have. Like I'm working on it. So once the season releases, you'll find that. Just check me out on Twitter and you'll see what I got going on.
Amazing. Well, you're awesome. Thanks for joining the pod. Like we love having you. And Andy, is this gonna come out in time for people to check trivia or what?
No. Well, I mean, it'll be out tomorrow morning. Yeah. So hey,
on the day
it comes out,
25th,
come down to do a little trivia down at the old Smith House there, and every month. And hey, follow me on the old socials there, and you'll find out when I do other shows like Comedy Bar and all around the city.
Sick. Follow my WNBA podcast with Catherine Niker, the Pickup WNBA podcast. If you're not watching the playoffs right now, I mean, you should be. It's great. There's a Aces game 2 starting right now. I don't know what happened with the Liberty game, but I feel like the Liberty probably won. But yeah, follow us, the Pickup Podcast, and you follow Confederacy of Dunks on all socials too. Come on,
why not?
And Raptors Republic, subscribe, give all the writers and podcasters your support and love, and we will see you next week, everybody.